a lot of people, and I'm seeing it a lot more with these like alpha male sales trainer guys and all this stuff out there. You don't have to close a deal aggressively or hard if you build a relationship with somebody. And building a relationship with somebody isn't asking them what their favorite color is or knowing that they like to have pasta on Tuesdays, but it's really like getting to know them and then helping them, like by actually helping them. And for me, throughout my sales career, I've been in sales now for well over a decade. I've done several hundreds of millions of dollars, both online and offline, face-to-face, one-to-many, however you want to spin it. I've been involved doing it. Listening and providing value has gotten me way more sales and gotten my clients way more sales than any sort of closing tactic.
My philosophy, and when I go into organizations and train professionals and look at execution plans and all that, it's really geared around earning the right for their time or earning the right for their business. And when you're intentional about how you can help, and you really identify that, and again, every industry is a little bit different. You might, can help in one way here or another way here, but when you're intentional about how you can help, it kind of changes the whole game for you.
Unfinished Business Podcast Show with your host, David Sliman.
Welcome back to Unfinished Business, everybody. So listen, how much are you leaving on the table with shitty, underperforming, ineffective email marketing campaigns that don't produce anything? Today, I'm joined with a guy who really is the expert in this space. I'm actually honored to have him on the show. I think he's going to really ignite this thing and give you some great insight. His name is Cole Vandee. He's the founder of Inbox Engine, and he's one of the sharpest minds when it comes to email marketing today. So Cole's made a name for himself, helping organizations, sales organizations as a whole, really amping up their email campaigns and driving results. In this episode, we're going to take a deep dive into his mind, his winning strategies, his approaches, and everything that can help you generate more activity on your email campaign. So whether you own an organization, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a single entrepreneur, these efforts are going to help you in conveying messages and really getting an impact on your email marketing. And I'm really excited to dive in as well. I mean, I have my thoughts on certain things, but I'm really excited to hear from the experts. So without further ado, Cole, I want to welcome you to the show.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. And what an intro. I'm going to have to fill some big shoes here today. So,
hey, man, listen, we talked about this. We met the first time, and I knew right away you obviously know your stuff. I even did more research on you, so I have a lot of questions. Really, not only around the execution plan, but really, your philosophy and some of the stuff that you've done as a whole. So it's going to be fun to dive in. Let's dive into it, man.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm excited.
All right, so let's talk about your company, Inbox Engine, and what really led you to starting this company as a whole. And then we're going to dig into all the strategies and execution as we go along.
Yeah. I truthfully, I wish I had like some like sexy founder story.
Right.
I was very successful as a copywriter in the marketing industry 7-8 years ago, worked with some of the biggest names in the world, writing their sales pages and helping with launches and all sorts of stuff.
Right.
And I ended up leaving that, overworked, underpaid. I wasn't sleeping. I worked 365 days a year, 20 hours a day. Just wasn't what I wanted.
Yeah.
And so I left, just got a normal sales gig. Again, my background was in sales beforehand, and just went back to the quote unquote 9-to-5, which sales isn't 9-to-5, but it was a little more steady. It was a lot less pressure, a lot less responsibility. And it took a couple of years to like figure out, okay, what do I want to do and how do I want to do it?
Yeah.
And I was golfing and got a phone call from a good friend of mine. And it's like, hey, I need someone to come in and do email. He's like, I don't really know anyone that can do it. Can you do it? And I was like, sure. Like, sounds good to me. Let's make it happen. And
Great.
So I started dabbling with email in 2021 just for him.
Yeah.
In his company, they were doing, I don't know, maybe $6 or $7 million a year selling coaching. And along the way, we ended up scaling up, and together, him and I did a little over $150 million together
Oh,
with that coaching business. And I just scaled his email list through the roof, and was able to produce really big results. Several years ago, I kind of broke it all down into systems and processes, SOPs, like the whole thing when you want to start applying what you do to other businesses. And since then, I've gone on to help, quite a few companies scale from $8 or $10 million up into the $30-50 million a year range, helped a couple $100 million a year companies scale up into getting the numbers right for, a $1 billion or so exit, give or take. Those are still in process, but I've really been able to figure out how email works and really how to approach it from a data-driven perspective instead of some gut feeling, or I learned this from some course or YouTube video. Just more of like, here's the data, this is what it's telling me, and this is how I know it works.
Great, man. Listen, are there specific industries you work with, or can you apply this to all types of industries, or have you worked in a bunch of different verticals?
Yeah, because what I do is all based on data. It works for anything. I've worked with Korean tableware companies that are brick and mortar stores. I've worked with coaching consultants. I've worked with supplement brands. I've worked with D2C, pet brands. It works whether it's a physical product, a software, enterprise sales, whatever it may be. If you're generating some sort of traffic, which is converting leads in some way, shape, or form, and they're becoming buyers, applying kind of what I call the email algorithm model itself to whatever it is you're doing already will only help when it comes from making email perform.
That's great. And I want to get into this strategy, but let me ask you this question first, because this is kind of burning, right, for me. And I'm sure our guests out there. What do most sales organizations get wrong about email marketing?
Let me say something that's probably going to be incredibly controversial in this space. Let me say that. What I'm going to share applies not just to email, but I think it applies to sales in general.
Okay.
Is that a lot of people, and I'm seeing it a lot more with these like alpha male sales trainer guys and all this stuff out there. You don't have to close a deal aggressively or hard if you built a relationship with somebody. And building a relationship with somebody isn't asking them what their favorite color is or knowing that they like to have pasta on Tuesdays.
Right.
But it's really like getting to know them and then helping them, like by actually helping them. And for me, throughout my sales career, I've been in sales now for well over a decade. I've done several hundreds of millions of dollars, both online and offline, face-to-face, one-to-many, however you want to spin it. I've been involved doing it. Listening and providing value has gotten me way more sales and gotten my clients way more sales than any sort of closing tactic or high pressure cooker thing or asking some magical question or shuffling papers around and using some weird tone. All of the stuff is fine and it works. But if you want like a scalable strategy that'll work until the end of time, like probably listen to people and care about them and then help them. It's completely against everything that I'm seeing out there on the internet right now, but it works.
Yeah. Listen, I'm with you 100%. My philosophy, and when I go into organizations and train professionals and look at execution plans and all that, it's really geared around earning the right for their time or earning the right for their business. And when you're intentional about how you can help, and you really identify that, and again, every industry is a little bit different. You might, can help in one way here, another way here. But when you're intentional about how you can help, it kind of changes the whole game for you. And seeing these guys who, pump up in the gym before they go on stage and they start yelling at people and swearing at them. I mean, it's not my jam. And some people attract to that. Listen, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm with you. I don't even think it's controversial. I think it's just a reality. There's some people who respond well to that. And then there's others who, need a different approach. And we're just talking about, that style. And I think you and I are aligned on that. And I like that. So, but yeah, I mean, So what you're saying is most organizations get it wrong because they're selling right away versus trying to take the approach of helping and really understand the challenges.
Yeah. I mean, simply put, for us, 70 to 80% of our emails don't even have a call to action to do business.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just purely actually helping them with things by giving them actionable, usable information. Like once you become the source of truth for your audience and your environment
I
that
like
you're
that.
trying to operate in, they're not looking elsewhere. You no longer have competition. It's no longer the guy down the street has this deal for this price or there's no more, you're not competing anymore. Now you've simply ingrained this audience to want to do business with you, and they'll continue to do business with you, refer you people without you even having to ask. It just sets you up to create it. It kind of almost flips the outbound marketing efforts into more inbound type marketing efforts because of the focus on actually giving value, actually nurturing them, actually helping them, and
Yeah.
providing them with resources that makes you ultimately the source of truth when there's so much information out there available at our fingertips today.
I love that. We got to clip that. I mean, the source of truth is a very intentional way of being a credible sales professional or a credible sales organization, or drawing that to it is, it really kind of wraps it up in a bow. How do you define, like, what's your, I'm sure it's a broad question, but how do you define a great email campaign? Is it clicks? Is it conversions? Is it something else? Is it a combination of both? What's your feeling on that?
That's a great question. I think it comes down to like a couple of things. One, if it's the very first email campaign you're kind of running in general, then success is one sale. Which sounds wild. Like if you have a list of 1 million people you're emailing out to and your goal is one sale, it's like, okay. But the real goal is really establishing data and then creating a baseline, right?
Okay.
So,
Yes.
I run this email campaign, I get X amount of conversions, I get X amount of open rates, I send X amount of emails, I get X amount of clicks, I make X amount of money. And then from there, you're just like, okay, so I'm going to do the same campaign again, and I'm just going to try to improve these metrics. And I'm going to continue to improve it over and over and over again. I think the biggest metric that is, we'll call it over focused on, is click through rate. Or just clicks in general.
Okay.
I just ran a first campaign for a client, 3-4 weeks ago, and I drove 15 to 20,000 clicks to their offer. Their offer page converted at 2 or 3%. So it was an incredibly, based on my other clients, really poor campaign.
Yeah.
Because I'm used to driving 5,000 clicks and the offer page converting at 60 or 70%, and generating a lot more revenue off of way less people seeing the offer. And so there's so many metrics involved that getting a real whole picture of what you're trying to accomplish, what all the assets are converting at, what are all the numbers across the board, and then just really moving the needle properly. I don't want more clicks if it means that those clicks are less valuable. And I want to play the game of figuring out like what's the maximum amount of clicks and the maximum amount of value I can get per click out of that for my offer. And that's how I end up kind of dialing in, this is the winning formula.
That's fantastic. Listen, it really aligns with some of my strategies. And again, just a lot of what you're talking about here from the sales world is translating over even to the email strategy. And I'm big, listen, results put too much weight on results. I'm not saying you don't need results for your organization. You absolutely do. But you really need to understand the commitments that your teams need to make. And in your case, sending out the emails and understanding the clicks and the conversions, you need to know all that information going up to what's leading to a sale. Mm-hmm. Because now you can understand where to put pressure. I mean, if you're lacking in one area, maybe you put pressure on that, make it a little stronger. Or if you're strong in another area, I say put pressure on that as well, make it stronger. But those are really there's a lot of alignment here in what you're talking about. So let's get into the strategy and the execution. When you're launching a new campaign, right, for a sales organization as a whole, what's one of the first things that you do?
I'm definitely talking to the sales team. I'm talking to the sales manager. I'm talking to anybody that's reviewing calls. I want to know what the number one objection is.
Hmm.
I want to know what the number one reason why people are saying they're buying, knowing that that's not necessarily probably true, but it's the only way they know how to describe it. And I'm also communicating with support, like the people that handle refund requests. Why are these people refunding?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, an objection happens because something in the marketing didn't help push them over the edge, or the salesperson's script wasn't set up in a way to help them move through that conversation.
Yeah.
And then if someone's refunding, it's because there was a promise made that wasn't met.
Delivered. Yeah.
And that promise is typically made in either marketing or sales. And so if I can figure out, from a sales perspective, like what's stopping them there and how are they trying to overcome it. And then I can also communicate with support and figure out, well, these people are refunding because this promise was made and it can't be fulfilled. Can adjust that messaging properly to where I'm not necessarily eliminating objections, but when that salesperson goes to overcome the objection on the phone with the prospect or in that sales process with the prospect, it's not the first time they're hearing that information.
Yeah.
So that, which I think just sets up the salespeople to win at the end of the day. So that way it's not a salesperson trying to sell them something. It's somebody that's repeating information they've already heard before,
Yeah.
which makes it even more true. It hangs its hat on a lot more authority, and they may not even remember where they heard it from, but it's not the first time they're hearing it. And that is such a crucial part, I think, of the sales process, is pulling information from outside of the sales conversation to make them feel more comfortable, and to make it sound like, hey, like I'm in alignment with things you're already hearing that are already in your world that I personally didn't prompt you on. Maybe the company's messaging was in that way, or the branding, or the industry that we're in, or a podcast you might have heard, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It's just pulling all that information together and being able to streamline it.
Great. Great. So now you've got like the handle on the objections, some of the challenges for the customers. What does your research process look like outside of that when you're starting to, write emails or, hit a new client vertical or, and again, there's a difference between cold email structure. I know there is, and warm, nurturing like emails just to try to stay in touch. But let's just talk about, that cold structure of putting together the initial framework. What are some of the additional steps you take?
Cold is tough. Cold isn't something we do for our clients.
Okay.
Just simply because it's so hard. The guys that do cold email and they do it well, like, my hat's off to them.
Okay.
I did cold email back in 2017, 2018, and 2019. I taught it and I was very successful at it. We were getting 80 to 90% replies in pretty much any vertical, any industry. We were killing it.
Uh-huh.
We were able to scale it really well. We had lots of students that were very successful, and then it just got harder and harder and harder. And I'm like, man, here's some things that I can tell you that definitely work in cold email today,
Okay.
yesterday, and tomorrow. Things that definitely work is making sure that you're using information that is 100% accurate. Nothing turns me off more than opening up a cold email and then they're talking about something that's nothing to do with me or my company. I never want to do business with that person. And guess what? When my buddies that are also in my industry, or maybe in a different industry, or clients of mine, or I'm at an event and someone's like, hey, have you heard of so-and-so? I'm like, yeah, their outreach is awful. It just
Identify it real quick.
Correct. So I think accuracy is way more important than volume in that regard. A lot of cold email guys will probably fight me on that. I'm just thinking about, like, big brand, big scale, accuracy is incredibly important. If you're, startup and you don't really care that much and lead flow is a problem and cold email is the only way you're doing it, or whatever it may be, then shoot from the hip and see what happens. But if you're, building like something to actually sustain the test of time and you want it to scale and have great recognition, like, accuracy is incredibly important.
Okay.
And then the other thing is short and sweet. The goal of a cold email is ultimately to create a conversation, not to create a booking. A lot of people are trying to put links to get people to book calls, and that's, it can work, but it doesn't work at scale, and it definitely doesn't get the highest quality people on the phone. So if you have empty calendars and you're just trying to fill them up, even if there's, nothing there, go for it. But I'm all about if I have salespeople, especially great salespeople, I only want people on the phone with them that are quality, that actually want to do something. I don't want them having to vet people, and it just kills morale, kills the mindset, and kills the momentum.
Yeah. I
Makes it
couldn't
hard
agree
for them
more.
to get back on their feet for the rest of the day, no matter how good they are, how strong they are, how experienced they are. You have a bad conversation with somebody as a sales professional and you're on the phone, it's hard to come back from that.
Yeah, big time, man. And you said something here that really triggered something for me that I love to train on. And when it comes to appointment setting, and again, there's a lot of alignment here with your email marketing. Don't sell them on your product. Sell them on the idea of why they should meet with you. I'm going to say that again. Don't sell them on your product. Even if you're walking in cold or for the first time or having a conversation with somebody, don't sell them on the product. Sell them on the idea of why they should meet with you. And again, earn the right for their time. And I love what you're saying here because it aligns a lot with the right strategies and philosophy, especially when you're going out cold.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you're using the phrase earn the right. And that's something we use internally
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah.
we are always, and I'm communicating this with my clients, like, hey, we haven't earned the right to do that yet. We haven't
Yeah,
earned the right to
man.
push this boundary. We haven't earned this right yet. We haven't deposited enough goodwill yet to take this type of withdrawal. Here's the consequences if we do that.
Yeah.
So I love that. And I think that definitely came over from my sales experience.
Yeah.
Being able to get to the point where I've earned the right to ask for the sale. And beyond that, also recognizing I have earned the right, so I should ask for the sale as well. I know a lot of new sales guys get scared of asking for it. It's like, no, at a certain point, you've earned that right. Like,
Earn the
people
right,
ask
man.
for their money now.
Yeah, it was a term I learned years back, and it stuck with me. And what it also does is it takes any reservation out of it that anybody owes you anything. They don't owe you time. They don't own you the deal. They don't owe you money unless they sign the deal and they owe you money. That's a different story. But ultimately, they don't owe you anything. Once I was years and years back, I was taught that. And it really changed my perspective in the way that I approach sales because I knew it was on me. It wasn't on anybody else out there. It was on me to make the difference either with the prospect or the team members that I was working with or the team I was leading or the organization I was leading. I had to earn the right for them to buy in. And it's a big deal. So, all right. Well, listen. All right. So now you cold outreach, we know is super tough. You've got to be really strategic in the way you do it. But more importantly, it sounds more like it's a crapshoot, and you may get a few things right here. You may get a few things right. If it works out, great. But a lot of the stuff that you work with your clients is warm outreach. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I love warm outreach, and it's the, you know, I'm trying to create inbound as much as I can for the salespeople, right? Even if it's outbound marketing, even if it's outbound efforts, I want the conversation or the sales mechanism or whatever it to be. I want it to feel like the prospect or the audience is inbound inquiring about it.
Yeah.
And that it's their decision and that they're there on their own accord for their own mission, their own purpose, to get what they want. And as much as I can possibly engineer that in what I do for my clients, the more I'm going to. And as we get more tools available to us and technology continues to evolve, I'm going to continue to find new ways to convert outbound into inbound as much as I possibly can. So simply put, so that I love when I'm listening to a podcast and some guy's like not sharing the actual thing and he's just like talking about really cool stuff. I want to share the actual thing, right? So like more or less, you're generating leads in some way, shape, or form. So my clients, they all pay for advertising, whether that be Meta or Instagram or YouTube or Pinterest or Google or whatever it may be. They pay for advertising, LinkedIn even. And they generate leads, and those leads come in because they want to, book a demo, or they download a book, or they purchase a small product, or they sign up for an event or a seminar or a presentation or whatever it may be. They exchanged an email address for something. And that's when the process really starts. for us. And so warm outreach is incredibly simple because one, they've already heard it. The first touch point is already done, meaning an ad reached them at some point in time. And maybe that ad hit them 2 or 3 different times before they decided to take action. And then they get some emails and they get some text messages or whatever it may be. And there's just more and more touch points that are happening. And, with you, you have a good sales background. I have a sales background. I know that sometimes it takes 20 or 30 touch points for them to even decide to have a conversation with me, let alone buy something.
Yes.
And so email is just an additional touch point that doesn't need to manually be done necessarily. It just kind of gets done all together. So we batch up all of our leads and we mail them and create kind of a narrative depending on the business and the customer journey of that business. Will really dictate what the email messaging is. We try to meet them exactly where they're at in our process. So, just like if you're calling a lead for the first time as a salesperson, you're not, going, "Hey, this is John. Are you paying with Visa or MasterCard?"
Right.
Right? It's probably not the first message you're going to talk to them about. And it's the same with email. I'm also not, going, "Hey, you should buy my stuff right here." Right. Now, if they're aware of that in the marketing journey, meaning, the ad was like, "Hey, we want you to buy stuff from us. You should give us your email and we'll tell you more about it." We're going to try to sell them stuff because they've already kind of raised their hand and said, "Please sell me some stuff. I want to know more about it."
Okay.
So context is incredibly important when deciding what to send and when. And that really drives the bulk of what we do for our clients.
Okay. So you have these different channels. What you're saying is the messaging is very similar on the Instagram or the Meta or whatever it is that they're putting out.
Mhm.
And then, or they're responding to a specific ad. You can tell where they're responding from, and then you can cater that messaging from what they responded to from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So if I'm running ads for somebody to download my 10-step checklist to do X, Y, and Z,
Yeah.
I know that person's probably gathering information, just getting started. And then if I'm also generating leads from someone where we ran an ad and it's like, register for this training to learn how to install this thing. It's like, okay, they're probably a little more sophisticated. They're a little further along in this journey of this, problem solution type of atmosphere. So I'm going to have a different conversation with them than I would with somebody that's just getting started.
Gotcha. Yeah. Great. Listen, I have to ask you this one because you get somebody who responds to something online, including myself, right? And then you get blasted with like 50,000 emails in a matter of 24 hours. Okay. I'm exaggerating, as we all know that. But the point being, how often, once there is that top of the funnel, move down the funnel kind of interest, how often should a sales organization be emailing somebody? And how do you avoid that turn off or burnout from somebody who's receiving this thing? And what's the magic sauce on that, or your in your perspective?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I, it's such an interesting topic to discuss because so many people bring their own personal interest. Like the first thing you said is like, I opt into something, I get 50,000 messages, right? You need some energy on that. You need some energy on that. And that I guarantee you teach this too, or you train on this when you're going into sales organizations. If I believe in the product that I have and I know for certain it solves the problem that these people have, it's my duty to make sure they know about it.
Yeah.
And the reality is that, and I have the data on 500 million emails or more now and hundreds of millions of dollars in sales. The best opportunity you have to convert a lead is within the first 48 hours.
Yeah.
It's just the reality of it. And so, yeah, you're going to get a ton of messages. And guess who you are going to propel away from you? People that are just getting started on their journey, people that aren't quite ready to buy yet, people that, I thought it was cool, right? The people that you don't want on the phone with your salespeople are going to get upset and they're going to leave. And those are the people that you want to get rid of. I think in marketing and in sales, and it's hard when you're a commission only sales rep to see it this way. It's hard when you're a new business owner to see it this way. And I get it, but getting rid of people that are bad for you as a customer is even more important than gathering great customers. You don't want to waste your time with someone that's going to beat up your support desk, take all of your time on the back end when you're fulfilling stuff, ask you for everything in the world. You want to get rid of those people as quickly as you can. And guess what? Guess who the first people to go are when you send 4 messages in a day? Those people. They're going to be like, this is ridiculous. They're annoying me. Why would they ever do this? But your great customers will be like, this is amazing. They made sure that I got the information that I was looking for. I love these people. The last company I reached out to didn't get me any information. These guys want to give me all of it, right?
So true, man. Listen, play that back, okay? If you're a sales professional, if you're an organization with outreach, whether you're outreaching personally or through email, your principle is the truth. Like, move them out fast, because if they're not interested or they're tire kicking too, you don't want to waste too much time. I mean, you want to build that relationship, don't get me wrong, but if someone has really drawn some interest to what you're doing and they're not responding, they're most likely shopping at this point or tire kicking, and that's okay.
And that's okay too.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Throughout, like with our email process, like a lot of our clients, they'll they pay for ads, they generate a lead. And the way that they typically look at business is that person will become a customer within 10 days, 15 days, 30 days. Like the bulk of their customers will become a customer within this time period. When we add email into the mix and the frequency of email that we do, a bulk of their customers buy within the first 45 to 60 days.
Oh, great. Great
But
stat.
the reason why it's such a short-term window for most companies is because that follow-up either dies or becomes very scarce after 10 days, 15 days, 20 days, 30 days.
Right.
I see it all the time in CRMs for different sales organizations where it's, they mail every day for the first 7 days. And then after that, it's every other day. And then it becomes once a week. And it's like, well, no wonder like a bulk of your customers happen within the first 7 days. You're trying in the first 7 days and then you give up.
Yeah.
And so we're able to kind of skew those results, and it makes it a little more challenging, right? Because, they're operating with like, all right, we have 30 days cash flow, basically lead to cash. 30 days is the bulk of our money. Now you're pushing it out to 45 days. They still get that bulk that they always had at 30 days. Now they're getting more at 45. So they have to adjust how they do business now because they're picking up more cash and more revenue, which you think would be great, but it's not turning as quickly as it did with just the ads. So it's scaling differently, but it's, as long as you're aware of that and you're paying attention to, time to cash, time to deal closing, time to contract coming in, or whatever it may be, you're able to adjust your efforts kind of accordingly to that, knowing that that's your new turn cycle and you have a bulk more cash coming in. So
yeah, that's great. That's great. No, good perspective. And I love the idea of just keeping something buzzing out there versus, for the first 10, 15 days, the longevity is, and what we started this with is really building that trust and staying out there and being in touch. So that's great perspective. Okay. This is probably the big one. You get asked this question a lot, but what are the components of like a really good subject line, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the first thing people usually read is the subject line. So talk to me about high performing subject lines and things that can really make an impact.
Well, let me do the salesperson thing here. Let me answer the question that I think would be even better.
Okay.
What is the first thing someone looks at when they open their inbox? And it's not the subject lines. It's who is it sent from?
Okay.
And so I've tested this at scale now. I could do same subject line to the same list, same audience from the same company, and just change the from name. And I'm going to see a 5 to 10 times better performance with a from name they're familiar with, they like, they trust, they want their emails.
Give me some examples of from names though, because I mean, how do you know?
Just your brand. It's all about building the authority with your brand. So for example, if you're running ads on LinkedIn as John, and then they go to a page and it's John, and then they open up an email from Bob, they're not going to tie those things together.
Sure.
Right. And so if you're John on your ads, you should be John in your email. If you are company name in your ads, then you should probably be company name in your email. right? And as time goes on, as they get deeper in your funnel, as they become a more ingrained in your organization, you can shift what that from name is kind of on the back end if you need to, meaning you may be a company brand, for example, on the front, and then individual programs are very person based or a different brand based. And so you may start to slowly kind of indoctrinate them into a different brand. But for the most part, on the front end marketing where people really haven't done business with you yet, you just want to be very congruent with like, I'm company X, I help you do X. And then they raise their hand, give you their email address and say, I want help with X, or I want more information about X, and then email them from X. And then continue to give them value and build goodwill with them, earn that right to do certain things. And then from there, your subject lines don't matter that much.
Yeah.
Should you still write good email subject lines? Yes, but it's not the most important thing. And a lot of people think an email subject line is going to be their silver bullet to success or a great open rate, and it's not going to sustain. Now, to answer the question that you originally asked, what are some components of a great subject line?
For sure. But that was great perspective, great insight. I think we're going to clip some of that back, but that was great.
Yeah, it's incredibly important. It's the same thing, when in sales, it's the same thing, right? For me, I've been out of the sales game for many years now, and I get messages from, customers of mine from 10 years ago, from a state I don't even live in an industry I haven't worked in 5 or 6 years. And they text me, "Hey, I need X, Y, and Z. Can you help out?" I'm like, yeah, no problem. And I shoot a text over to a buddy and get the deal done for them and help them out. And I get referrals. I'm like, I don't sell this stuff. I don't even know anybody that sells it. Let me see if I could find somebody for you, And they want to do business with me, right? Because I wasn't branding the company. I wasn't branding the product. I wasn't branding, whatever. It was me. It was Cole. And I always wanted to make sure that doing business with me was easy. It was simple. It was helpful. And it's the same thing when you start scaling and you start building an email list, you start building an SMS list, you start building products and services and offers and stuff like that. Softwares, whatever it may be, they're going to trust the brand. And whether that brand is you as an individual or a company figurehead or a logo or whatever it is, just like pay attention to like how you're doing business in that realm, and it'll help tremendously with all of your efforts for sure.
Great, man. So if you're a company that's starting out, if you don't have a big email list, what are some techniques to really speed that process up?
Yeah, I sound like Gary V when I share this, I'm not as intense as he is, I would say, but if you're looking for like speed of building an email list, I would ask why first. Like, why do you think an email list is going to be the thing?
Yeah.
If you really want to know, like, how can you do it? Like doing what we call joint ventures, or getting on podcasts like this, or starting your own podcast, or going to events, just like literally putting yourself out there and then creating a lot of different assets that you can give away for free in exchange for an email, that are all those assets should be usable by the person in which you want on your email list. I also want to caveat this by saying, and it's getting the same with social media, a lot of subscribers on your email list does not mean a lot of money.
Yeah.
Some of the biggest promotions I've ever done, I've done a launch with a company where we mailed a list of 4,500 people. We did over $1 million with it. And then I've done launches with 500,000 person lists, and we can only pull out 500 or 600 grand out of it. And I have friends of mine that I've seen the actual numbers in the back end system where they did a launch to 300 people and they did 250 grand. Yeah. Right. So It's not the size of the list. It's about the quality of the relationship you have. Now, if you can scale up that, that core 1,000 fans kind of philosophy, and you can scale that into 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 people, man, are you talking about printing a lot of money? But first, it's like, how do I really take care of these 1,000 people, and how do I do right by them? How do I dial in this process, and really nurture these people to be the absolute best possible people for my list? From there, you start really printing money.
Really good, man. Listen, there's a lot of platforms out there, right? When it comes to scaling outbound email communication, are there any platforms you recommend or that you use, or is stuff you use proprietary?
That's a good question. None of the stuff I use is proprietary.
Yeah. All right.
I don't recommend building your own email infrastructure, meaning you shouldn't build some custom coded magical thing. The reason for that is because one, and this may suck to hear for some of the more developer techie guys out there, but you're not better at building an email infrastructure than $1 billion company. So don't do that. Nike doesn't do it. Gap doesn't do it. The biggest mailers in the world don't do it. You don't need it. If you're doing 500 grand a year, you don't need a custom coded thing because you're so unique that it's no email system. Like, you don't need it.
Yeah.
As far as platforms, I mean, I'm partnered with a handful. We're partnered with Klaviyo. We're partnered with Bird and Blue Shift and Maripost and Spark Post. These are some great tools out there.
Yeah.
For if you're a big organization, you might be looking at like a Salesforce with some sort of different back end integration, or maybe a HubSpot or something.
Yeah.
If you're looking at cold email and you want to do it in-house, I would highly recommend paying a professional that knows what they're doing to kind of set all that up, because you need hundreds of domains and different IP pools, and it becomes a tech monster kind of thing. So I don't really have any one and done solutions for that. Those things kind of come and go. But yeah, I mean, overall, the email infrastructure itself usually isn't the breaking point in why email isn't successful for people. It's usually how they approach email. Like I had a client of mine, they have a supplement company and they're doing $150 million this year. They're on MailChimp. It's not about necessarily the platform. It's about how you're using it and are you maximizing it? Most people aren't. So I wouldn't recommend changing platforms until you maximize the platform you have.
Yeah.
And then from there, you can start to kind of figure out what platform has the features and the support and the capabilities that I need to scale. And then start looking at what am I going to need over the next 2 to 5 years, and then migrate into the platform that can help you do that.
Great, man. Great, man. A couple more questions here before we go. This has been a fantastic interview. Really very insightful. I think our guest's going to get a lot out of it. The 2-letter word, the AI, how you're smiling when I can see you smiling on this one, because I'm sure you've heard a lot about it, or maybe you use it or maybe don't. I don't know at this point, but
Sure.
How do you use AI, if at all, in developing campaigns or the copywriting or the planning as a whole?
Yeah, I smile and laugh because it's one of those things over the last year or two. It's like the one single question I get asked, no matter where I'm at and in what environment, and it makes sense to ask that question because it's changing how we approach a lot of things. So I'll share this. For me and my team, we write email. It takes us about 2 to 3 minutes total to write an email from start to finish. We don't use AI to do that. And it's not because we're better than AI or anything like that. It's just we're faster right now than AI's capability to do it. By the time we prompt it properly and get it trained up, and then we have it write the email and we edit it and we clean the code and everything else, it's just a longer process currently. Will that be the case 3 months from now? I don't know.
Right.
But as of this moment, that's where we're at as far as writing. I use, and my team uses, we use AI as a strategic thinking partner. And so not to the point where it thinks for us, but to where for me, I use AI to have it ask me questions. Because I can ask it questions all day long, but at the end of the day, the difference between me and someone that's doing 10x the volume or 10x the production or 10x the profit or 10x the impact or whatever it may be, the difference between me and that person is the quality of the questions they're asking.
Yeah.
And so if I don't know what those questions are, I don't believe I'm going to get to that level. And so instead what I'm doing is I'm having AI ask me questions and flush out clarity from my side instead of me thinking I know all the right questions to ask. That seems to me silly. So instead I go to it and I'm like, hey, I need, this is what I'm working on. These are some of the challenges. What questions am I not asking?
Great,
And
great,
that
great
helped me
perspective.
flush out so much.
Yeah. That's fantastic. Really almost going into it backwards versus tell me what to do. What am I not asking it? Or what
Yeah.
am I not looking at?
Yeah. What am I missing here? And
Yeah.
can you analyze this and tell me what I'm scared to talk about, or what am I, what's missing from this? And it'll start to point out the things that most people I think avoid. Not to go down like some crazy personal development rabbit hole, or
Yeah.
I'm not Tony Robbins, but at the end of the day, it's like the things that we're avoiding, I think, are ultimately that's the path in which to go to the next level.
Yeah.
And we're just avoiding it because it's painful and it sucks. But on the other side, it's usually pretty fun. So
Yeah. You gotta break through the thresholds, man. I'm big on that. You've got to, if you think there's this magic bullet or an easy way to do it, there's not. You're going to have to test it. And I'm sure that's why you're the expert in what you do, is you've probably hit a lot of roadblocks through the years in doing this, and you've figured out what not to do for the most part, but you're still learning. I mean, we're all learning in this world.
No, absolutely. I shared it before, but yeah, I mean, it's for me, I think a lot of success is learning what not to do and what to say no to. That's ultimately what success becomes. Kind of thing. It's not, is this the right opportunity? It's like, pick the opportunity and then start saying no to everything else, and then figure out what not to do, or what you're currently doing that isn't providing the output that you need, and getting rid of things and simplifying, I think, is ultimately the key to scale.
Love it, man. Love it. Well, last question for you. Where can people get a hold of you if they want to start amping up their email strategy, their outbound messaging? They have any questions around this as a whole? Where can they reach out to you and connect with you?
Yeah, we're putting up free resources and all sorts of different ways to work with us at inboxingengine.com. So there's books, and there'll be videos and courses and stuff. And then if you want to follow me on social media, it's at Cole Vandee, Vandee. And yeah, I post, not as frequently as I'd like, but I do put out quite a bit of content. I share a lot of perspective on scaling businesses. I'm inside of a lot of 8 and 9 figure companies. Have friends with quite a bit of those guys too. So I get some behind the scenes, real raw conversations and inputs on what's happening in the marketplaces, what the trajectory is, what's working, what's not. And I share a lot of that across social because I think it's very fascinating. So
it's great, man. Listen, this has been a fantastic show. I told you everybody, this guy knows his stuff. Listen, reach out to Cole if you have questions, you want to pick up with him after this show. Cole, I want to thank you for being on Unfinished Business. This is right in line with what the show is all about. It's about different strategies and ways to really enhance business, being a stronger professional, running a stronger organization. And as we all know, it's always unfinished, man. There's always stuff to do and things to conquer. So listen, everybody, wealth, health, success to all of you out there. Appreciate you listening. Just share this show to one person, like it for us, and we will see you all next time. Appreciate it. Thanks, Cole.
Unfinished Business Podcast Show with your host, David Sliman.